Music as a social divisor. Have you ever wondered if your surroundings had an impact towards your musical taste? Did you choose your favorite band merely because you liked their songs? Or did the city where you live, the music genre that predominates around you, or your friend recommendation had something to do with it? Throughout centuries, music has played an important part in society, up to a point in which its effects in culture, popularity, and relevance has impacted the history of humanity. The distinction of music preference can be found all around the world, and there are certainly reasons as to why certain groups prefer a certain type of music over the other. There are countless examples of the genuine powerful effects that music has had in communities, and that intriguing ability to bring people together and bring ideas into fruition, especially in the past couple of centuries. With the idea to share how music plays an important role in social stratification, the topic that will carry out this final project will regard the impact social division has had over the taste and musical genres people enjoy listening to.
When defining genre as a concept, we tend to gravitate towards many possible definitions, depending on the context when using said word. Musicologists tend to lean towards the definition that Van der Meer provides, which is a set of pieces of music that share a distinctive musical language. Defining musical genres specifically can be quite the hurdle, as musical genres in of itself are something that constantly changes, evolves, and fades away through time. Through these musical genres, many boundary-defining works may possibly emerge. Depending on where the musical genre may have been born, it will be inevitably affected by its cultural, social, and economical surroundings. Because of this, the possible hit music from a musical genre that can impact society and its people may sometimes only pertain to a specific societal situation caused by a certain shift of the status quo during a certain period of time. Sometimes, these songs tend to fade out of relevancy, only to be resurrected due to a similar situation occurring somewhere else in the world. Musical genres also tend to spawn entirely new and different musical genres through the flow of time. They may have similarities to their pertaining inspirations, such as a shared audience and aesthetic. Rock and roll, for example, has birthed many kinds of music, such as rockabilly, punk, emo, and many others. When referring to pop music, you could assume it to be a genre, despite most of what makes pop music being corporate decisions and engineered writing predetermined to be a hit success, and in the interest of gaining a wider appeal by muting possible inspirations in said music. Some genre music may end up becoming pop music, but pop music in of itself is not a genre, more so a demographic, compiling songs aimed for the charts. A quite unique genre would be the avant-garde. Borrowing a term from fine arts, you could call these bands who strive for this type of music circles. These bands, dissatisfied with the current status of music, feel restricted and constrained by these ideas. They might believe that current music genres show no emotion and tell no story. These circles strive to innovate, break away from said ideas, and create music which will allow the band to creatively express themselves the way they want to. Sadly, these groups tend to not last long due to never gaining relevancy or breaking out, or a band member gaining much bigger success alone than with the band as a whole. A genre that falls into this category of avant-garde would be that of progressive rock, a genre that thrives on experimentation and innovation.
When talking about the history of music genres as a social division, you cannot leave out the big influence that political sponsors had on the creation of various pieces of music throughout time. It is quite obvious that at any given time in history, people would divide themselves into groups of different political or ideological backgrounds. This division is also reflected in a lot of musical works, especially in the past 200 to 300 years, where the different phases of class struggle grew upon people's consciousness. Music had always been a way to unite people. Therefore, it would also become a political tool in various forms. A political message in a piece of music can be very clear. For instance, marching songs, national hymns, or other clearly politically motivated songs. The national anthem of the Soviet Union is a clear example of that. It promotes its communist socialist ideology as well as a sense of Soviet patriotism. On the other hand, many songs across all music genres would have a rather less obvious political motivation or message which would only be represented in the form of a short phrase or reference. Denisov describes these two forms of political music division as magnetic and rhetoric. Though not necessarily, political motivations in most songs typically revolve around the lyrical part, thus magnetic. A very common form of political division among fans and artists are protest songs. Protest songs have been popular among different kinds of genres throughout the past 200 years. Especially in the rock and pop genres, it is quite common to find a protest message. Current protest songs often rhetorically focus on issues such as climate change, war, or poverty. Bella Ciao is a prime example of a protest song. The song became popular among the Italian resistance movement against fascism during World War II. Mi sono alzato e ho trovato l'invaso, o partigiano.
Music has long been recognized as a unifying force that transcends social and cultural boundaries. However, music plays a role in creating social divisions and reinforcing social hierarchies. In this presentation, we look at how music has been used to divide and separate people and look at the important pieces of music that have been contributed to this division. Through history, music has been used to reinforce class and societal hierarchy. For example, in ancient Greece, music was considered a reflection of a person's social status, and different types of music were reserved for different categories of people. Similarly, during the Renaissance, music was used to distinguish aristocrats from commoners, with the former being the main patrons of arts. More recently, music has been used to reinforce racial and ethnic divisions. For example, African American music is often marginalized and excluded from mainstream culture to the music industry favors with white artists and genres. This led to the creation of independent music genres such as jazz, blues, and hip-hop, which are often associated with African American culture. Even in genres considered a mainstream, such as classical music, social divisions can still be observed. Classical music has historically been associated with high society, and the orchestral performances often take place in venues reserved only with a widely patrons. This has led to a lack of diversity in the classical music industry, where artists and composers from marginalized communities are underrepresented. An important piece that divided the society was the opera, The Birth of the Nation. The controversial opera by D.W. Griffiths was widely seen as a celebration of white supremacy in 1950, and was used as a propaganda tool by the Ku Klux Klan. The use of opera music that reinforced racist ideologies is a prime example of how music can be used to divide and marginalize certain groups of people. Another major piece that divided the society was Billie Holiday's Strange Fruit.
The hangotly powerful song, which depicts from linking the African Americans in the United States, was banned from radio stations and received strong criticism from white audiences. The song's powerful message and the emotional impact challenged the status quo and fueled America's growing civil rights movement. In conclusion, while music has the power to unite people and cross social and cultural boundaries, it is also used to create division and reinforce social hierarchies. Important tracks that divide the society are a reminder to pay attention to the power of the music and work, to promote diversity and inclusion in the music industry.
In classical music, expecting the unexpected, author and conductor Ken Nagano discuss how music interacts with the brain with neuroscientist Daniel G. Levitin. One of the sociological effects of music is that it improves people's well-being through chemical reactions in the brain. For example, B increases oxytocin. Oxytocin, the so-called love hormone, increases willingness to interact and build trust between people. Music can also promote the synthesis of antibody immunoglobulin A, which is important for human health. Studies have also shown that levels of melatonin, epinephrine, and norepinephrine increases after several weeks of music therapy. Two hormones, norepinephrine and epinephrine, make us more alert, feel excited, and activate the reward area of the brain. To demonstrate this in a more empirical way, we have the influencer called Ezequiel De Luca, who makes social experiments with music. He makes friends who are on the street look each other in the eyes while singing a love song with his guitar, creating a romantic moment for those friends and influencing the level of the relationship between those people, and thus giving them a chance to see if love blossoms or remains in terms of friendship. Music is and will remain one of the best tools that society uses today, whether to distract us, dance, to take us to a certain feeling, among many others. For many, the fact of listening to songs moves them from world to world and can help to define our existence. Music has a fundamental role in society, to the point that an ordinary person can spend hours listening to different genres, as it's an activity of enjoyment, quite common and companion for different activities. When they go hugging while reading a book or performing household chores, they want to listen to a song in the background. This is how they make their music playlist. These are just a few things that music enhances in people's life. However, music can also have a negative influence on society. It can be considered a destructive habit to use music to encourage us to buy a variety of products and services that we will never know how good or bad are for us, as you will certainly be attracted by a catchy tone or a beautiful voice of a singer that incitates you to purchase. Clothing stores use psychological music techniques to sell Madonna, Sinatra, or El Último de la Fila make you check out more. One of the best examples could be Madonna Hung Up.
Music has shaped cultures and societies around the world, passing through from generation to generation. It has the power to alter one's mood, change perceptions, and inspire change. While everyone has a personal relationship with music, its effects on culture around us may not be immediately apparent. One of the most important benefits of music is its ability to create a sense of belonging between individuals. Music has been linked to forming both social tolerances and familial bonds. Nowadays, the musical influence in society is less notorious since new artists are being listened to by so many different people from different cultures. Like Bad Bunny, a Puerto Rican rapper and singer who has been recently top charting and gaining huge success, becoming the most listened artist around the world. He has been working on emerging and combining new styles. He just dropped a new single with Grupo Frontera called 1%, emerging into the norteño rhythm from the Mexican regional genres. And he also made an appearance in the newest album of the popular English girl band Gorillaz, collaborating to make the upbeat track Tormenta with Jamaican sounds and inspiration. This is a great example of how modern artists are focusing on emerging and discovering new sounds, complementing their original rhythm and authenticity with other cultures and styles, breaking cultural barriers and bringing people together. Because who would have thought that the music that is played in Latin American clubs will be resonating all around Europe or the US?
According to a study developed by the University of British Columbia and published by the Canadian Review of Sociology in 2015, musical omnivorism, an appreciation for diverse musical styles, is not dispersed along class lines. Instead, there is a homology between class position and musical tastes. Blues, choral, classical, jazz, musical theater, opera, pop, reggae, rock, and world international are considered relatively highbrow, and country, disco, easy listening, golden oldies, heavy metal, and rap as relatively lowbrow. Consistent with the homology thesis, it appears that class position is aligned with specific musical likes and dislikes. The study determines that wealth and education do not influence a person's breadth of musical taste. However, class and other factors such as age, gender, immigrant status, and ethnicity shape our musical taste in interesting and complex ways. Music preferences are primarily influenced by cultural upbringing and experiences rather than biological factors. So, how does social class affect music taste? It's unflaggingly difficult to define an answer to this question, since everyone's experiences with social classes and upbringing are unique. That said, it is generally accepted that one social class can have a significant impact on the music they enjoy. As stated by Bright Star Musical, those from lower social classes may be more likely to enjoy music that is loud and aggressive, as it can be a way to release pent-up frustrations. Meanwhile, those from higher social classes may prefer music that is more mellow and reflective, as it can provide a sense of sophistication and refinement. Even though we can't control many external factors that influence our musical preferences, there is one constant. We all respond differently to different types of music. We all have different musical tastes, which explains why we can find peace or joy when listening to music. It is, without a doubt, the most unique form of communication that affects us in the same way the other forms of art do.